Welcome to the Digital Maddie Show with your host and host Miithyl, a show made exclusively for solopreneurs, artists, and coaches who wants to build their business online. With 15 plus years of business experience, I share topics on personal branding, content creation, and digital marketing on this show and invite many experts who share the same passion like mine. Today, we have an amazing guest on our show, and I'm excited because the topic is somewhat very favorite to me. So his name is Mark. So Mark Willis is a man who's on a mission to help you think differently about your money, your economy, and your future. After graduating with six figures of student loan debt and discovering a way to turn his debt into real wealth as he watched everybody lose their retirement savings and home equity in 2008, as we all know as subprime. So he knew that he needed to find a more predictable way to meet his financial objectives and those of his clients. So he's gonna, share a lot of ideas and tips related to that and around that. So without wasting much of our time, let's bring the hero onto the show. So we have Mark over here. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Miithyl. Great to be with you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. So, Mark, can you share your backstory with us?
Absolutely. Well, it was a dark and stormy night when I graduated from college with unexpectedly, I suppose, six figures of student loan debt and no real plan to pay it off. I stumbled into the financial world as a slave to that debt. And I've been trying to find strategies to help not only myself, but also all of our clients break free ever since. Since then, I have become debt free, better than debt free. I've become a certified financial planner here in the United States, and we work with clients all across the country over Zoom or over the phone. And we have a great conversation about transformation, which is really what money is at the end of the day all about. It's about life transformation and legacy and helping you impact this world.
That's awesome, Mark. Loving that intro. It's you actually follow the concept of KISS. Keep it short and simple. Super cool.
I think the world. If it's the old phrase, if I had more time, I would have written you a shorter letter, not a longer letter, a shorter letter. So yeah, simple is good.
Absolutely. So, looking at your backstory, Mark, you graduated with a debt in your hand. So, tell me one thing, Mark. Is it really possible to, be better than debt free?
It was it was really not taught to me to do anything other than just to pay off my student loan debt. I had been given a sort of a pathway to follow, and radio hosts and financial gurus on the radio gave me the advice to do what's called the snowball method. Just wipe out your debts one by one, get out of debt as soon as you can, and then become debt free. And then you can start to save for your future. And that worked okay, I suppose. And we scraped along and we lived on as little as we could to throw as much as we could toward our debts. But it felt like that empty feeling you get whenever you eat too much sugar, that empty, like cheap carbs in your body. It's that sugar high for about 15 minutes and then you get a crash. And that's sort of how it feels when you pay off all this debt, because here I was in my mid to late 20s trying to pay off all this debt. And the most valuable dollars in my lifetime were just being vaporized. They were going into somebody else's bank. And somebody came along, a mentor of ours came along and sat us down and talked to us about the problem of opportunity cost. Now, that's truly what it is. There's a major problem with paying your debts off with cash. And that problem is opportunity cost. The real problem is when I pay cash for something, whether it's a debt like our student loans or a car, I am not only losing the money I would have otherwise had in my pocket had I not bought the car or paid off the debt, but I'm also losing whatever that money might have grown to and earned had I not paid off the debt or bought the car and left the money invested instead. That's the problem of opportunity cost. So at the end of the day, yes, you can be better than debt free. What's better than being free from banks? What's better than that? It's being the bank. If you can become the bank and pay yourself the interest you could have otherwise paid to a banker or credit card company, that beats paying cash. The problem with paying cash is you're still financing. You're just financing it from your future self. But if you're the banker, then all of a sudden you can collect that interest, not only from yourself, but also from others as well. When you're the banker, you will control the entire financial environment where your money lives. And that's something that very few financial vehicles allow you to do, but a few will if you know where to look and how to structure things properly.
Wow. So, Mark, basically, you're trying to tell is self banking, as compared to traditional banking. So,
Mhm.
as per you, Mark, why is self banking better than traditional banking?
Well, when you think about it, banks have been around a long time, but banking has been around since the dawn of civilization. There's a great book out there by David Graeber. The book is called Debt, the First 5,000 Years, Miithyl. 5,000 years. And it is no more true than today that banks are truly in control of the financial economy. Whatever your political leanings, I don't really care. Banks don't care because they have the purse strings. They know what they're doing. And if banks and debt have been around for that long, according to the Lindy effect, we can assume that banks will continue to exist far past you and me and will live for at least another 5,000 years. So banking is as old as cave paintings as far as human existence is concerned. And we better well get used to how banking fits into our lives. We are all in the banking business, even if you think you're debt free, or even if you pay cash for everything. You're still in the banking business because you're depositing money into their system, right? So, is it possible that you could use the problem of banking that most people live in, where the average consumer spends a good portion of his or her waking hours just to service the debt that they're in with banks, credit cards, finance companies? Since the since the start of 2022, we've seen such a surge in credit card debt here in the United States. It's actually the largest increase of credit card debt buildup in recorded history here in just the last 2 or 3 months here as we're recording this in summer 2022. That should tell us something about the permanence of banks, but the modern conception of banks doesn't have to be what you and I participate in. You can opt out of that system. It's like the Matrix. You can unplug from that system and control your financial future. And if you can self bank, if you can find a way to bring the banking function out of the hands of mega corporations and federal governments and bring that back into your personal life on a one-on-one basis, you start banking at the you and me level again, just like we've done for thousands of years. It actually has a mega impact on your financial future. In fact, as a certified financial planner, I would go as far as to say that how you manage the banking function in your life will impact you more than what you got on your stock market index fund or mutual fund or crypto fund or whatever over the last few years. Banking is the smallest hinge that can swing the biggest door in your financial life if you know how to swing it.
Wow, this is truly deep if you try to understand, and you're just trying to scratch the surface with this conversation. It's a whole big concept altogether. And yes, I truly agree with you. Bank has always been in the past, and bank will more or less be in the future too. It's all about trying to match the frequency and get the same concept. Awesome. There's one more thing, Mark, which I have read in a lot of articles as well as in circulars and curriculums, is something called as going upstream financially. So, definitely, I know a bit about it, but I would love all the people who are listening this episode, even they, to get about the concept of behind it. So, Mark, can you just share what does it mean to go upstream financially?
Well, that can go in a lot of directions. So I'll give you just maybe two tributaries that take us upstream, financially speaking. So, as I mentioned earlier, you can go from a debtor to a saver to a wealth accumulator. Debtor to saver to wealth accumulator. That's a great way to go upstream financially. I'll tell you my story. Again, the debt that we carried, my wife and I carried, mostly on my shoulders, because I carried it into the marriage. Most of that debt was mine. We were thinking like a debtor. We thought, how are we going to get out from under the thumb of this bank? And that was sort of all we thought about. We ate, slept, worked for the bank. We were slaves to the bank. And then we began began to become debt free, and we lived under this idea of a saver's mentality. But savers are in the same rat race that the debtor is, just on the other side of the rat's maze. The saver saves, and then crashes down when he spends that money. The debtor is in debt and he climbs up that staircase and then only to fall back down again when he buys the next car or the master's degree or the credit card or whatever it is that he or she is doing. He's either climbing up the debt staircase only to fall down again, or climbing up the saver's staircase only to crash down again. All the while, years are passing and no wealth is being accumulated. Okay, so how do we escape that? How do we get escape velocity and break through to a smart, stable, and permanent financial future? Well, you've got to become a wealth accumulator, which means you've got to find assets that do not stop compounding when you access them. Let me say that again a slightly different way. You've got to begin to build wealth with financial tools and assets that will continue to compound even when you're using that capital or cash without interruption. You know, they say uninterrupted compound growth is the most powerful financial force in the universe, right? And that's not just true in finance, that's true in the entire universe. Okay, so an exploding supernova is a uninterrupted compounding force until it's prevailed upon by outside influences like space and gravity and so forth. If left to its own devices, the algae in a lake will just cover that lake. And that's true with uninterrupted compound growth in math, in yeast, in your bread, and in your finances. Uninterrupted compound growth is the most powerful force in the universe if you know how to manage it. The trouble is, leverage and compound growth can work against us too. And that's how banks have really pushed us down for these many years. And it's, my humble work to try to help people realize that they are not stuck under that banker's thumb. They can break free if they have the right tools and resources. And we love all day long sitting down with folks to discuss, discover, and implement financial strategies that help them take back control of their future.
This is amazing, Mark. And I think the word which you sometime back used, I have heard this in 2 days in a row, cash flow. And it's constantly ringing because one of my role model, Robert Kiyosaki, so the book he wrote, Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I was just going through that and I was speaking to one of my friend who is like in India. He is like a coach who helps people play cash flow board games. So it's amazing, and we were just having an interview yesterday, and the same thing popped up. So I could understand, yes, that these are very crucial. And most of the people, especially entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, they start with an idea, they start with a concept, they start with a passion. But these are certain things which they need to educate also, because in order to, it's like your business is your car and cash flow is like your fuel. So the more it has, the more you'll be able to go places and see beautiful things. So yes, this financial education plays a very vital role. And Mark, you're doing an amazing job, and so deep gratitude and thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. And, back at you, man. We're changing the world, you and me, and so many more on this platform. And, we're living in the future that we can even have this conversation right now. So keep up the great work of creating content.
Thank you so much, Mark. So with this, Mark, we come to the end of the phase one of the interview, and the phase two is rapid fire round, where I'm going to ask you 5 questions. And what is the first thing that comes in your mind? You just have to share that. So are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So let me make it a little intense. Let me zoom a little bit. Okay. All right. So, Mark, very first question. What is the one thing you would like to add in your bucket list in 2022?
Definitely, Switzerland is feeling like a pretty awesome place to visit. I think doing some mountain backpacking, mountain hiking, mountain climbing. I believe in going up a mountain and safely coming back down. And I'll tie that into finance. So many people climb that mountain, get as big a pile of money under them as possible, and then have no plan to distribute that cash safely to get back down to base camp and plant their flag. So I want to go to Switzerland. I want to climb some of the, the Zumrat, some of the major famous mountains, and see some of the sites there. And I love setting people up for financial success, just like climbing up a mountain and then safely back down.
So it's basically like, building your own Uncle Scrooge vault where you can just swim.
Right? Yeah, exactly. We want that money to flow. We don't want it just sitting in the swamps of your gold vault for sure.
Absolutely. So, Mark, describe yourself in 3 words.
Um, Fun, loving, powerful. How about that?
That's actually powerful. Super cool. Loved it. So, who do you admire the most, Mark?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this one. I think the one of the greatest thinkers in this space of banking is someone named Nelson Nash. Nelson Nash. He passed away a few years ago. I admire him because he thought different. And there's an old phrase, 80% of people. Uh, let's see, what's the phrase? 10% of people think. Another 10% think that they think, and the rest of us would rather die than think. So Nelson Nash was one of the people who really truly thought, and he helped break open my mind to understanding that banking was something that we didn't have to outsource to mega corporations. We could do it ourselves at the you and me level. So Nelson Nash.
Awesome. I think I've heard his name prior to. Was it mentioned in certain movies or has he written books? Because maybe I have come across this name before.
Mhm. Yeah, he's written a book called Becoming Your Own Banker.
Okay, yeah. Then because I was going through Peter Lynch books and then probably must have seen the shelf. Awesome. So, all right. So, who's your favorite superhero and why?
Well, superhero, I would say Michelangelo the Ninja Turtle, if he counts. I like him because, yes, yeah, he's my favorite Ninja Turtle. You know, everyone's got their own. I realize that they're all awesome, but I like Michelangelo because he got the job done and he had fun while doing it. He seemed to
Absolutely.
really love being a turtle.
Absolutely. Then I think you and me are the same because my favorite is Michelangelo.
All
Like the way he
right.
used to do it and
Those
squeeze
nunchucks,
up,
man,
squeeze
I'm
up,
telling
squeeze
you.
up.
It's awesome. Yeah, bring those guys back.
Absolutely. Nice. Lovely. All right. So this is something this is cool. Let me see how you give the answer on this one. So if a movie was to be made on your life, what genre would it be and who would play this role?
Yeah, I think if we could make it a choose your own adventure style movie, I don't know if that's even possible. Some of these Netflix movies, you can pick and choose which way you want the character to act or go. I just think it'd be cool. And as far as who, I think it'd be cool to have someone like an old classic actor like Humphrey Bogart or someone cool like that, just playing, just because, I mean, what would he be like in a choose your own adventure movie? That's all.
But you look more like Bruce Willis.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. We even share a last name, although no relation that I'm aware of. Yeah.
No, the first time you came, like, is it really Bruce Willis? So,
That's right. A little bit of Bruce Willis, a little bit of Mr. Clean. Either way, we've got a bald head. That's for sure.
awesome. So, thank you, Mark, for participating in the rapid fire round. That was fun. And I hope you also enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So, Mark, all the people who are listening to this particular episode, if they want to connect and know more about you and more about your work, how can they do that?
If you would like to find a way to break free and break out of the rat race of the debt staircase or the savers staircase and move upstream financially, I can help. We work with folks all across the United States and beyond to help them break through to a stable future. You can go to kickstartwithmark.com. That's kickstartwithmark with a K.com. And I'd be happy to chat. We can set up a 15-minute chat and see what's possible here.
So you would find all the links in the description. Do check out his profiles and especially even this one because trust me, he's knowledgeable and I can purely see the authenticity and the credibility that he has built over a period of time. Lovely.
Thank you.
Mark, I'm truly enjoying this episode, but with the time comes to an end too. So before we end this episode, what is the one message you would like to give to our listeners?
No matter where you live in the world, everyone can sit down for 5 minutes and write down what you want your money doing for you. If you put down on a sheet of paper or on an app or something, just somewhere where you can think through what is it you want your money doing for you, you'll be more in control after that 5-minute thought exercise. Because too many people put money in places because they were told to or because they thought it was cool. The latest stock or the latest gadget or whatever it is, the latest IPO. But if you can think through, what do I want tax free in the future? Do I want some sort of access to the money? Do I want it to be protected? Do I want it to grow at a competitive rate? These sorts of conversations with yourself or with your partner can help you take a bit more control even after just 5 minutes.
Absolutely. So, once again, Mark, thank you so much for taking out your lovely time, sharing with us a lot about finance and how it is crucial for being self-banking than relying primarily on traditional banking. So it was deep, and I'm sure that all the people who are either watching this as a video on YouTube or listening as a podcast, they would be beneficial too. So once again, deep gratitude, Mark, for doing a phenomenal job in your niche, educating people financially, and doing an awesome, you are actually a superhero for many people. So thank you so much, Mark, for that.
Hey, well, thanks. If Ninja Turtles are still hiring, let's see if we can apply and get the job, man.
Absolutely. So you have just listened to the Digital Maddie Show with your host and host Miithyl. Thank you so much for listening to our show and giving so much love. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on the podcast platform you are listening. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. This is Miithyl signing off with Mark at the moment. Until next time, meet you soon with another guest and their exciting stories. But until then, keep rocking, stay safe, and don't forget to keep creating content. Ciao.